drama going on with the MAGA men, you guys. It's unbelievable. First and foremost, JD Vance is hosting an emergency strategy dinner tonight at his residence with like Susie Wiles and some of the other, just complete taco tits sycophants, because they know that this Jeffrey Epstein thing is a complete liability, that there is bipartisan support for these files to be released. And even people within the MAGA movement are deeply believing that Taco Tits is at the epicenter. And so why JD Vance is running point on this is rather interesting to me. Put up the headline. CNN is reporting that top Trump officials will discuss Epstein's strategy at Wednesday dinner hosted by Vance. Okay. What's interesting about this to me is that Pumps has done some reporting, and you all have known this, that the oligarchs, the tech oligarchs, put JD Vance in there because they see him as the heir apparent to execute all of their nefarious plans to dismantle democracy and have this like tech country where like Peter Thiel and Elon Musk and some other weirdos run the country. And JD Vance is such a beta male. He'll do whatever they say. Pumps, what's your thought on this?
My thought on this is be very, very careful if you're on Trump's inner circle, because I see leaks and bad strategy coming from JD Vance, because I think JD Vance is sitting, waiting in the wings for a coup. So I see a lot of leaks after this meeting.
Okay, so do you think, let's just be hypothetical here. JD Vance and a lot of these other guys, nobody really likes Trump. They tell him they like him because he has captivated the cult base, and whatever Trump says, they go along with. But they're all, sitting there waiting because Trump's got these swelling cankles, right? He always has these bruises on his hand. He clearly is in cognitive decline. He's, 85 million years old. And so they're all just waiting, like, how are we going to be positioned when it happens? And do you think that JD Vance is earnestly going to have a meeting to protect Trump's interests? Or is JD Vance going to be, because clearly Trump is probably pretty easy to manipulate. Vladimir Putin has manipulated the hell out of him. Benjamin Netanyahu is manipulating the hell out of him. Other leaders in the world completely know how to manipulate him, like the EU, they called him daddy. They don't believe that. They just want to make sure they have him on their side. And so JD Vance knows this.
Correct.
The tech oligarchs know this. So Taco Tits, do you trust JD Vance, who just a year or two ago was talking about how he thought you were America's Hitler? Does Taco Tits actually trust JD Vance, who has no conviction, changes his opinions like the wind, and now all of a sudden he's rah-rah, sis, boom, bah, Trump? But I'm not trusting that.
I don't trust it either. We know that Vance has gone to meet with Rupert Murdoch in secret before the Wall Street Journal reveals. I think that Vance is going to use this to manipulate the situation where he comes out the dear leader, which he can't be the dear leader because he has no riz. But I think he's plotted with the oligarchs and Rupert Murdoch. We've heard over and over talks with Rupert Murdoch and Vance about a succession plan. That's what I think that he is getting ready to put into motion.
Okay. And then the White House is just reaching like the bottom of how do we distract from the Epstein files. So they decided, I don't know how this happened, but they decided, let's put Taco Tits on the roof. Let's put him on the roof and have him up there walking around talking about putting nukes on the roof of the White House. And he's like screaming questions down at the press, acting like a deranged maniac. And then the White House social media, you guys, here's what they put. Have you seen the Sydney Sweeney ad? And I don't know if them saying that the president thinks Sydney Sweeney is hot helps their case against him being ass deep in the Epstein files.
The total lack of ability to manage this situation is just absolutely stunning. Like, he's talking about Sydney Sweeney in her jeans. He was in her interview talking about Caroline Leavitt's lips. Like,
oh yeah.
Does he not understand that he is absolutely making it worse for himself every time he opens his mouth in the White House because he is not surrounded by competent people. They keep digging a hole that he's unable to get out of.
All right. And I want to flag something I think is rather interesting. Ground News is reporting the following. Put it up. Breaking. Trump threatens federal takeover of D.C. after Doge's big balls severely beaten trying to save woman from a bunch of thugs. And then Trump, the next post, Trump goes to Lie Social and he puts up after Big Balls was allegedly beaten up for trying to save people. Crime in Washington, D.C. is totally out of control. Local, in quotes, youths and gang members, some only 14, 15, and 16 years old, are randomly attacking, mugging, maiming, and shooting innocent citizens at the time knowing that they will be almost immediately released. They are not afraid of law enforcement because they know nothing ever happens to them, but it's going to happen now. The law in D.C. must be changed to prosecute these, in quotes, minors as adults and lock them up for a long time, starting at age 14. The most recent victim was beaten mercilessly by local thugs. Washington, D.C. must be safe, clean, and beautiful for all Americans, and importantly, for the world to see. If D.C. doesn't get its act together, and quickly, we will have no choice but to take federal control of the city and run this city how it should be run and put criminals on notice that they're not going to get away with it anymore. Perhaps it should have been done a long time ago. Then this incredible young man, he's talking about big balls, and so many others would not have had to go through the horrors of violent crime. If this continues, I'm going to exert my powers and federalize this city, make America great again. Okay, several things. Number one, an extraordinary claim requires extraordinary evidence. The story is that Big Balls was trying to save a woman that was getting mugged. And in the process, Big Balls gets his ass kicked. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but out of all the people at the epicenter of why Trump is going to federalize the nation's capital, Big Balls is the victim. Does that not sound fishy to you?
It sounds completely fishy to me, although I can believe he's such a pussy he couldn't take on a mugger. But him wanting to federalize, this is where it's at. He wants to federalize. We saw what he did in LA. Now he wants to move it to DC because he does not want to reach the midterms because he knows he will be impeached because he is so corrupt and committed so many crimes.
And here's some facts on the ground. Crime in DC is down double digits. And this is what Republican presidents and their propaganda machines do. They tank the economy, enrich the rich, and then they scare the low information voter by saying the immigrants are taking your jobs and spending all of our money. Crime is out of control in all of these big blue cities when actually crime is higher in red states and in red cities than it is in blue cities. But blue cities are where Americans experience the best of America. It's where multiculturalism shines, tolerance shines, and they know they have a problem because Trump in blue cities, Republicans in blue cities, they lose by double digits. And this is where you're going to see midterms people that are engaged voters in blue cities. This is where you're going to see them turn out in droves. This is going to be the epicenter of a blue tsunami. And so you see these attacks happening in Texas. And now we're talking about federalizing. This guy is adding on the size of a Walmart supercenter to the White House. He's paved over the Rose Garden. He's everybody in his administration is wearing these, instead of American flag lapel pins, they're wearing him on their suits, these alpha males. He doesn't intend to leave. And so we need to keep our eyes on this stuff because there's no reason to federalize the nation's capital unless you're setting a precedent and starting to rile up people in red states and get, prime the public that this is where we're heading. Next up, we have video of Trump receiving Olympic medals.
And someone we admire, President Reagan, both of us, presided over those, and you will preside over our games. So we have for you a full set of the 84 original medals. Wow.
Can I say that I won them athletically?
Yes, sir.
That would be a great
Yes.
honor. That's beautiful. Thank you very much.
Okay. So many things.
Mhm.
Number one, the way he is treated like a toddler.
Yes.
And everything is a show and tell, from an executive order where somebody has to explain to him what he's receiving. And then he marvels at it and he looks up and he raises it up and shows it. Reminds me, the only memory I have of adults, or of human beings, not adults, of human beings doing that was when I was in kindergarten, first grade, and we had show and tell. And that's what that reminds me of. Of course, now he's so demented that now, of course, he's saying, can I tell everybody I won them athletically? So we're one news cycle away, literally one news cycle away from Taco Tits with his cankles that's cheats at golf on his wives, his taxes, everything. Hightailing it up to the roof of the Capitol, telling everybody he's a triple winner of the Olympics. That's how demented this man is.
Did you see, like, he was in awe, like, I won an Olympic medal. I mean, his face was like, I did it. I mean, I was just like, that is so childish. And I couldn't help but notice just how bad the makeup is.
And just the whole, like, the way they got it, we both admire Ronald Reagan.
Right.
It's so nauseating.
It's
Everything about it
nauseating.
is so nauseating. And of course, Trump has to ruin the Olympics. Like that right there, I'm just like, the athletes deserve better. The world deserves
Right.
better. But yet we have all arrived because of 77 million Americans with utter abject moral rot in their souls voted for this piece of shit. But I want to leave you all with something that we always want to keep in the news cycle. And that is, of course, how unlikable, how unfuckable, how untalkable, how unfriendly, how un-everything Senator Ted Cruz of Texas is. And I want to put up this tweet here. Ted Cruz tweets, during his 4 years in office, I never spoke to Biden, not once. I don't know who was running things, but it wasn't Joe Biden. And Skylar Johnson on Twitter responds, Biden understood something fundamental. No American, no matter who they are or where they are from, should ever be forced to speak to Ted Cruz. And I just want to leave you all with that because that is so important. Nobody wants to talk to Ted Cruz. Nobody wants to fuck Ted Cruz. Nobody likes Ted Cruz because Ted Cruz sucks. And Ted Cruz is the guy who parades around after Taco Tits told Ted Cruz his wife was ugly and your dad killed JFK. Ted Cruz is so morally depraved. He got on stage and he said, God bless Donald Trump. All right, that's all we have for today. Pumps is going to peddle our book.
Here we are. This is Life is a Lazy Susan of Shit Sandwiches. It's a great read. Pick it up anywhere. We have a link in the show notes. And if you want to hear our lovely voices, you can listen to it on audio.
Please subscribe. We're almost to 1 million, you guys. And Pumps is leaving tomorrow for Maine, and I'm afraid that it's going to happen
I know I'm going to be sad
while
if it
you're
happens while I'm
gone. I
gone.
know. We'll figure out how to do it live
Yeah.
together. All right. Subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you later today.